I set my alarm at 6 o'clock every morning, no matter how shit I feel.
So
I get up and
this is a little secret for Lesley. She doesn't wait for the kids to wake her up. She gets up before the kids. And you do your study then.
I do my study for an hour and a half.
All right. Lesley Mort. Welcome to Paul Mort Talks Shit.
Thanks. This is weird, isn't it?
It is very weird. There's just us two in the studio today. Lesley's the only female that's been on twice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, twice. Today's going to be a little bit more uncomfortable than last time. People loved the last one. It's not on YouTube because we didn't do video.
Oh, yeah, but it was last season, wasn't it?
Yeah, Mac was on holiday. So I'm going to ask you the question that...
I know, I'm a bit nervous about how deep this might get.
I'm going to ask you the question that I always get asked by ladies in particular who seem to follow me more and more, which is great. What up, ladies? What was it like living with a suicidal lunatic? I mean, I could say what's it like living with a lunatic now, but what was it like for you? So for you guys listening, if you don't know this, I mean, you probably do, but back in 2014, I was at my lowest point, ready to take my own life, and the only reason I'm here today is because Lesley Mort is basically wouldn't let me. So I shouldn't really joke about it, but I will, because I try and make light of it if I can. But let's go serious now. What was that like for you?
Really scary. I think one of the most traumatic times in my life, really. Not just because of obviously it being so horrific, because I didn't know what to do. I felt as lost as you did, and I think that's probably why you get a lot of questions about it from people asking, well, how did Lesley deal with it? I think people who are living with people with mental health problems, it's scary for them, and they also feel a lot of pressure to be able to do something about it and
be able to
save the person. And obviously, neither of us had any experience with mental health before.
No.
What made it, I think, more traumatic than it had to be, I think, is because of the state of the mental health services at the time. I would like to think that they've improved since then. Yeah. But at the time, what was the most traumatic time for me was trying to find somebody to help, I think. Yeah. And trying not to show you my despair, the fact that the health was absolutely shit.
And you probably felt powerless and helpless and...
Well, and obviously one of my biggest things is I love to be in control and absolute no control over anything. Yeah, I don't know what the right answer is as to what advice to give to somebody in that.
Well, let's put this into context. 2014, we've just moved home from Marbella. We've got a 6-month-old baby.
Well, we moved home from Marbella when Nina, in August, Nina was 3 months old.
Yeah, so I had my worst episode in the December. Mm-hmm. So that's 6
months old.
6 months, 6 months old. Yeah, 6 months old. And then you've got Max, who's 3 in nursery. And then you've got me, who's a 34-year-old fucking man-child, volatile. And everyone always asks this. They ask, like, why was your wife with... You know, these dickheads that comment on the video online, why was your wife there? Did you take her? I was like, no, she used to have to follow me everywhere, right?
Yeah. It literally got to the point where... I mean, there's lots of signs, obviously, when people are suicidal. God, it's really complex, but... There was a point where I knew we were in trouble when any opportunity you could to get out of the house, you would. I used to get up on a morning, and before you woke up, I used to take the kids round to my mum's, so I could be back by the time you woke up. And I can remember a couple of times by the time I had took the kids round the corner to my mum's and come home, you had left the house. And you were determined, really, weren't you? You were determined.
Well, my phone would be off.
Phone was off. Luckily, I knew you had certain places that you would go. But, I mean, there was times when I would be driving around in the middle of the night looking for you. It's horrific. It's a horrible thing to go through. And I don't know what the answer is as to how to support someone other than just do your best. I mean,
you wrote something when we edited the first book in the afterword where you were like, you wrote something like, I kept crying when I read it. That's why I can't remember. I don't even think I finished it. But you wrote this afterword that was like, some part of you was like, shall I let him do it, right?
Well, yeah, because it got to a point when so we sat.
By the way, thank you for not letting me jump off that cliff. I've never really said that. I just want to thank you for not letting me do that. I appreciate that.
Well, the thing is, though, I mean, you've got to think, when people are in that state, they're not in their own sound mind.
No, there's no logic.
There's no logic. It's an illness. It's not. You were in psychosis. You were ill. It wasn't just.
Do you know how I know that? Because when people ask me about it, I'm like, actually, I don't have my memories of that. People are saying, oh, you came and spoke at this event. I'm like, I didn't speak at that
I can
event.
remember bringing you home from the cliffs and you saying, I want to go home. You are paranoid. You used to say, where you taking us, what you doing, you're in on this. Like, it was.
Oh, really?
Like,
Wow.
you were in psychosis. It wasn't.
I can't remember speaking at events. Chris Brown was like, can you remember doing this? I'm like, I can't remember that. Can you remember saying this? Can't remember saying that. People keep giving me experiences and like, I can't even fucking remember them.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, there was a period of
I see photos, man. I see photos and videos on your phone, and I'm like, I can't remember anything. Isn't that weird, though? Mm-hmm. Considering how
Probably
intense the emotions were around that
honest.
time. But I was clearly in some kind of...
Yeah, it was... But we probably went through a period of about 6 months where I thought that it was 50-50 whether or not you were going to still be here. And there was times, I can remember one specific time when we were sat in the car and I had just picked you up from somewhere where you had been off on the run and I'd found you and you were
fucking hell, man.
And you sat there and begged us to just let you go. And what you meant by let you go was...
Let us die.
Let us die. I mean...
I remember it was in the back... I remember that.
Round the back of the house.
It was around the back of the old house, as the kids call it.
And I can remember thinking, fuck, am I just... Because I could see the suffering, and the suffering hadn't just happened. It hadn't just happened like for a couple of weeks. This had been going on and on and on for months, maybe even a year or more. Mm-hmm. And I can remember thinking, fuck, am I just being selfish here? Is it just... Would it be kinder for him to just...
Yeah, how mad's that, though?
Not be suffering anymore.
I
mean, it's traumatic. It's horrific. It's something that I would never want anybody else to go through. But I can remember thinking, you're a good salesperson. You nearly had a sold on it.
Class.
You nearly had a sold on it at one point. Because I can remember thinking, am I just being selfish here? Do I just want you not to do it because I don't want to have to go through that? Mm-hmm. How fucked up is that? Like, even for me to be thinking that. Like, because... It just gets you down so bad. It's just...
Well, if you can see someone in pain...
Traumatic.
If you can see someone in pain, particularly when it's someone really close to you, like, you got to consider people are turning people's life machines off and that. It's like, it would kind of... Life support machines, so it was kind of probably that similar situation. You don't want to see someone you love in pain. So you're almost like, well, what if I just could... You'd almost do anything. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You'd almost do anything to stop their suffering.
Yeah. And it's obviously totally ridiculous to even think of that, but and looking back on it
well,
now,
I'm sure there's people listening in that have experienced something similar or watching or...
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, the proper mental health, mental illness is a really scary, dark, horrible thing to experience. And there is no right or wrong answer as to how to deal with it.
What do you think the turning point was?
Personally, I think it had a lot to do with your physical health for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think that...
Yeah, what Leslie's saying is that every weekend I was fucking boozing and sniffing, and I was in the office sniffing coke and that, and yeah, I was all over the place.
Yeah, I think you can't turn anything around in that place.
No.
But obviously it's a vicious cycle, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think the turning point...
I'd do it, just so I could feel something. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? because they put me on meds. I can't even remember what they put me on, but I just couldn't feel anything.
That was lithium.
I had no emotion.
That made you worse.
Yeah, I did. So I just buy Coke in the middle of the day because I had work to do. I had a little bit of work to do. I needed some energy. I just wanted to feel something. I remember one time you caught me and I said, Lesley, I just need to feel something. I need to feel some kind of buzz again. I need to feel some kind of rush again. Now, obviously that's not the answer, but that's how fucked up and numb I was back then.
Yeah, I know.
So the physical health, you would say, was one of my turning points. Yeah. It's when I discovered the whole fucking flexible dieting thing, and then my body used to try and train. So this is how I wouldn't say lucky, but basically this is how much I hated myself. I hated people, right? And I've said this before. Like, we moved to Marbella because I hated everyone.
I know.
I was like, I need to get away from all these negative people.
And then the isolation made it even.
And then isolated was even worse. I didn't know anyone. We came back, and I was even worse.
Do you know
when
what I think
back.
the hardest part? What I think the worst part about moving to Marbella was the isolation gives you a complete warped sense of reality.
Yeah.
Like because you would only see certain things from certain point of views. You weren't in it. You were watching it.
Yeah.
And you make shit up in your head, and you had like this really warped sense of reality. I think.
Yeah.
Because we weren't.
Well, that even happened when I got home.
Yeah.
Even that when I got home, it got a little bit worse. I had an office that was about double the size of this studio, and I basically, a friend of mine, shout out Black Box Fitness, literally kitted out my gym. It kitted out this studio as a gym, right? This office is a gym, and it was fucking incredible. And I used to just go and train it on my own for a bit, right?
Yeah.
And that was, I remember one day, when I was at my lowest, and you made me go to the gym on Christmas Day. Remember that?
I remember going to the gym on Christmas
And
Day.
I just punched the punch bag for about fucking 20 minutes. I was so fucking
that was
angry.
Really bad, that Christmas.
That Christmas was horrendous.
We had
that was the Christmas that it was.
It was.
2014. What did we have?
The crisis team at our house on Christmas. Yeah.
Crisis team. The crisis team is basically the Suicide Watch team, yeah. Sanders' dad. Big up Sanders' dad. This is a kid that Max used to play football with. His dad came out. I've never even spoken to him since. I see him all the time. Think he remembers, or do you think he just...
I think it's unprofessional to say...
How you doing, dickhead?
In
How you doing, dickhead?
In the schoolyard, are you still feeling suicidal? It's not really good.
Oh, I'm glad to see you didn't jump.
Yeah.
I knew he said that. So I shouldn't even joke about it, but listen, you've got to kind of try and make it as light as you can, right?
I mean,
so,
we used to, yeah.
So the turning point for you was when I started to get a handle on my physical health.
Well, I think, another thing that made things worse for us, I think, is because, like I said, I've mentioned this before, was like struggling to get the right help. And I think when you so for example, you said those.
How many people did I see, man?
So many people.
Remember when he took us to Fuengirola? Lesley booked this guy in Fuengirola, right, which is this shitty, I shouldn't say that, shitty little Spanish town it is, right? Fuengirola, and I saw a hypnotherapist, and I fucking fell asleep. He was doing all this therapy on us, I was asleep the whole fucking time.
Yeah, I mean, God,
I did go and see some people.
Tried all sorts of things.
I seen shrinks, I seen professors, I seen all kinds of therapists, private.
We went private, and
one guy convinced me that
you had a lesion on your brain and you needed an MRI.
Yeah, I needed an MRI. And then remember going to see that lady in South Shields, and she was like, "You're manic now." I'm like, "No, I'm not."
This was one.
You think that might have been a turning point, that? But I was like, actually, this is just who I am.
So that was when. So this is an example of how bad the mental health service was at that time. It was, obviously, Paul was suffering from mental illness. It was an illness. And we went to this shitty 1960s office block with paper-thin walls for an appointment with a psychiatrist on the NHS.
Was it done by...
It was a secretary who saw you. It wasn't anybody who was qualified, sitting, taking notes.
Yeah.
And then...
Bless her. Imagine being her and dealing with me.
It was a bloke.
Was it?
It was a bloke sat and took a load of notes. And then,
I've told many people to fuck off in those appointments, like.
But it wasn't, I think that the hardest thing is when you suffer... I knew it was an illness. And when you've got an illness, you go to a hospital, don't you? You go to a clinic, you go to some... It felt like it was a drug rehab place it just didn't feel like...
It was about care.
It was about care.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it didn't. It felt like it was. It was.
Last chance saloon.
It was your fault. It felt like it was something that
A jail.
It just didn't
It's like a jail.
feel like you had, like you were going to be looked after. It didn't feel
Mm.
like somebody. It just felt like an inconvenience. And
Yeah.
so then this woman came in for about 3 minutes to have a conversation with you and decided that you were manic.
Yeah.
And that they would put you on lithium to bring your mood down.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is Paul.
I was the same as
It's just his
this.
personality.
In fact, my energy wasn't even as high as it is every day right
It's
now.
just because you talk loud and you are,
I do not.
you use your hand gestures and stuff, and so she decided that you were manic, didn't she?
Yeah.
And put you on lithium to bring your mood down,
Yeah.
which for 18 months
I didn't need my mood to come down.
just made you rock bottom, absolute rock bottom. And I think that's the point that I'm getting at is the fight. What made it worse was the fight to try and get some resolution, to find somebody who was going to do something to make it better. And the more
That
things
was
that
me
you
ultimately,
do,
wasn't it?
the more things that you do that don't make it better, the more hopeless you start to feel. I think.
Yeah. But you got to consider, Lesley, as well. At that point, it was still me that wasn't changing anything. I wasn't changing anything at that point.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I was still drinking. I was still sniffing. I was still fucking around at work. I was still lonely. I still wasn't getting around communities. I still wasn't talking about anything. Do you know what I mean? I was still fucking arguing with people on the internet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I was still going to the same fucking bars and sniffing the same fucking gear. Do you know what I mean? We were trying to get help, but at the same time, I wasn't helping myself, like.
No, I agree.
But I didn't know what else to do, I don't think. I did not know what else to do.
The turning point, when I think things started to change, was when we had Donna.
Donna's fucking world famous now.
I told you.
I feel like I should change her name.
Yeah. She was an absolute blessing. And
She was fucking
because
it felt like my mum telling us off.
Yeah, well, that's what you needed, really.
I did need that.
You need it because as me as your wife, who doesn't want anything to happen to you, who comes running when you run off and comes looking after you, really, who would really, I really wanted to have the balls to say, fuck you then, just stay there. But can you imagine if something had happened, if you had jumped because I wasn't there, how much guilt I would live with.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably having an external person who can tell you how serious things are getting was a big turning point.
And what's going to happen if you don't get your shit together.
Yeah. And not having that from me, having it from somebody outside of the family to say, look, this is fucking how serious it is. But I mean, at that stage, we also did have a change in medication. You started taking more care of you. It seemed to kind of all come at once, didn't it? It seemed to kind of all of us.
I started to get into learning again. I started to get into exercise.
Fought for a long time to make progress, and then once one thing.
I started boxing.
Once one thing clicked, it seems to kind of snowball and kind of everything. So you get a little bit more energy because you weren't on them lithium tablets, so you had more energy to be able to train. You had more energy to. You could think
start
a little
speaking
bit
to
more
people
clearly. I think it just kind of all started. Or once you start to get a little bit of momentum, I think you went to Wake Up Warrior, which I think was a big turning point.
Well, that led me to all the Byron Katie stuff and got me. I realised actually maybe I do need to look after my body if I want to fucking do better. Mm-hmm. Maybe I do need to start. That led me actually, to be fair, I have given it a lot of credit. I know some people that have done that program ripped it off and not given it any credit, but I always give it credit because I'm like, that's where I first was turned on to meditation. Yeah. That was where I was pointed towards Byron Katie. That was where I was pointed towards Debbie Ford. That was where I was pointed towards strategic coach even, which helped me a ton. And do you know what I mean? There was a lot of that was kind of the start of me branching off into other things. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That was probably one of the things that it started to get me into learning again, and then it got me in a community of people again that were like me. I hadn't been in that before. Do you know what I mean? I hadn't been around other fucking lunatics. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
I hadn't been around that aggressive men that are angry at the world but really angry at themselves before. Mm-hmm. I'd never. I
think it was also like when you were in Wake Up Warrior, there was a lot of other people who were kind of going through the same kind of thing. Not necessarily exactly the same thing, but struggles, and it made you feel like you weren't like a freak, really, weren't you? Like that other people were going through things. Other people found things difficult. Yeah. One thing that I will mention.
Other people had successful businesses because we were making bank then.
Yeah.
They had successful businesses and they still weren't happy. They still weren't fulfilled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that I will mention, I think, is I think a lot of what you went through came from, I mean, we had 2 kids right after each other. And I think you felt a lot of pressure of that. And I think that's not talked about enough in terms of, I mean, it wasn't just the fact that we had kids, it was the fact that up until that point I had worked and brought some income in, and then everything, because I had stopped working and had the kids, then it was all of your responsibility to look after the family, to provide for the family, and I think, and it's not fucking easy having 2 little babies, neither is it? It's like, let's be honest.
I can't remember. But no,
Do you know what I
it
mean?
wasn't.
It's
Loud,
a
there's
big
messy,
shock to the
there's...
system. We got
Yeah.
married, we had 2 kids, we got married, and everything was on your shoulders. And I think you were like, shit, I should be able to cope with this. And I think men don't talk about that.
No.
Don't talk about the fact that this struggle with
who
that
are you
pressure.
supposed to ask? Who are you supposed
And
to
I
talk
think
about?
when you are in Wake Up Warrior and you realise that other people struggle with those kind of things as well, you are like, actually, I'm not a failure. Everybody, it doesn't come, it's not, it's something that you have to learn and grow. I mean, you don't just grow up when you, like, you're still growing when you become a parent. You're still growing, don't you?
And no one teaches you.
Nobody teaches
No one teaches you. I mean, there's a few books here and there, but I could name one book. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't read that many other books on parenting. There's no one.
It's not even just
and the thing is, I don't
parenting,
even think there's a bloke that's written any.
No.
Like a bloke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not like I was going to work and clocking out. It's kind of when you're self-employed, it becomes like a 24/7 thing.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So I think once you realised that, I mean, you used things like the cocaine and the drinking. That was a way of dealing with that stress, and obviously had then snowballed into mental. I mean, taking cocaine all the time is never going to be...
Well, mental health needs physical support. I say it all the time.
Exactly.
No fucker wants to talk about it, though.
So when you realise that actually that's what a lot of other people do, and a lot of people struggle with that, and I think then the guilt, releasing some of the guilt from feeling like that as well, and feeling and the pressure, and it's I think once you realise that, it still took a while though. It doesn't just happen overnight.
No, I must say that it's not. Even now, it's still not a smooth
There's
fucking
ups
journey.
and no, there was
It's
ups
not a
and
smooth
downs
journey.
Even now, I can't remember when. Oh, you had a wobble a couple of weeks ago.
Start of May.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was fucked.
Yeah.
I was fucked. Hadn't took enough time off. Hadn't been resting enough. Still wasn't training jiu-jitsu.
But we know now. You're able now to nip it in the bud.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. It doesn't go on for weeks. I don't go missing. I'm not gonna try and numb it out with booze or drugs. I think the good thing is that when these things happen, we just know it's like a rumble strip now. Like, okay, well, why you don't get like that by accident. So I know that happened because I wasn't taking my Wednesdays off. I'd fucking slacked on my meditation. My diet had been bit shit. My training had been a bit meh. I was doing shit that I hated doing all the time. And I wasn't recovering properly. So, and I hadn't had, like, normally we'd have a week off a quarter.
Yeah.
At least a week off, no phone, recharge, and we hadn't done that. Yeah. That was the 5th month of the year, and I realised actually I haven't had more than fucking 1-2 days off.
Yeah.
And again, when you run your own business, it's a fucking... I'm not saying I work 24/7, but because I love what I do so much, my brain's on it all the time. Yeah. And the only time it isn't a lot of the time is when I'm training jiu-jitsu. And I hadn't trained jiu-jitsu for 6 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's one of the only... That's why I'll go even when I'm fucked. Because I'm like, my brain cannot be anywhere else. Although Fortnite seems to be...
I've noticed.
Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that? Yes. Just like when I've got that... Do you know that time where I'm like, right, Nina's got fucking YouTube on. I don't want to look at my phone. I don't want to look at my laptop. I want to dial out for a bit.
Yeah.
So I've been hitting the whole fucking Fortnite up.
Yeah.
And Max loves it when I play Fortnite, to be fair. So, you knew things were getting better when I started getting me physical health together? How do you support that? How do you support all of that, by the way?
Interest in life again, that a thing.
Really?
I mean, I don't know what flipped the switch, but something flips the switch from you not giving a shit and not wanting to be here and not wanting to go on, and then something I don't know what that switch is.
Well, that was the meds, the
But
exercise.
Then something making you go, actually, I want to get better. I want things to.
What was that like for you? Relief, hope.
Yeah, I mean, so you started off. When
Were you
things
nervous?
started to
Were
go
you
down,
nervous in case anything?
Always, I still am now.
Particularly when I get on the stage, because you never know what I'm going to say.
Yeah. No, I mean like
I only said clit twice the last time. Sorry, I didn't even say clit. I said
I think you
clitoris.
just do it to wind me up, mate. Honestly, I think you just try and slip them in.
So you guys listen. Oh, I'd love to slip it in. I'd love to slip them in. So yeah, every time I speak on the stage, Leslie's there normally, and I always see her at the back of the room, or like if we're doing a big presentation on Zoom or something, I can see her all the time. And I can just see her shaking her head and putting her finger on her lip and going like that and cutting her own neck.
Always go off script.
And it's always rude.
Well, it seems to be like if you get a little bit nervous or a little bit uncomfortable, the
To tell a
most
dirty joke.
inappropriate thing
Comes out your mouth.
comes out your mouth, and that's what makes us nervous when you speak.
What's the most inappropriate thing I've ever said?
Oh my God,
Clitoris.
even what? Come on, there's
Have I
got to
said
be
worse?
way more than that.
One of the Mars bars out my arse. One's probably up there.
Yeah, I told you to wind that in a bit.
Yeah. I'm not allowed to say there was a Mars bar coming out my arse. So you were nervous during that whole...
Nervous always, even now, to not want to go back there. And I think it took a little bit of like, so we had a couple of good weeks, and then you'd go back and you'd be like, oh shit, not again. And I mean, that went on for a long time.
I remember that, I'd be like, am I not supposed to be happy? Mm-hmm. I can't do anything that I love doing without a come down.
Yeah, so you'd be like...
That's what used to happen, innit? I used to go and speak at an event, and then I'd be fucked.
Yeah.
And I couldn't deal. I was like, I'm doing things that I love doing, and I'm still unhappy after.
Because that's what bipolar is.
It's an adrenaline thing.
It's an up and a down and whether or not it's bipolar or if that's just a label for it.
It's adrenaline.
Whatever the label, whatever it is. But I mean, but you also used to chase that as well.
Of course I did. It's a high.
Because you used to chase the high. Mm-hmm. So I can remember even in business, you would want to do a launch because that would give you a buzz. Yeah. It would be like, how many can I sell? And you did. That's why you did boxing.
How many can I get in a room?
You did boxing because you trained for a fight, and it was like and then it was a big high, and I was like, don't think that's why I didn't want you to do boxing, because I was like, there's a massive come down after. Yeah. Whether you win or lose, there's still a come down after it. So you all. And spotting that pattern, and we're talking about like what I would advise women, like if you see that pattern of chasing a high, and that's obviously something to watch out for. I think there's
I still do that now.
Yeah,
I'm just better at managing
as long as it's healthy.
I'm just managing the come down.
I mean, there's lots of ways that people chase a high in terms of violence and like going out and fighting. I mean that's. Some men like to do that, don't they? They go out on a weekend and have a fight, and that's just a chase.
I was having through the week now instead.
That's just chasing a feeling, isn't it? Chasing an adrenaline.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Yeah.
I want to shift this focus completely from me and onto you. So you guys listening, Lesley, right now, how old are you?
I told God I was 83 this morning.
83? 83? I bet you felt 83.
And I said 83.
So Lesley's 38. I should probably know this, to be fair. Lesley's 38. She's running a 7-figure business. She's lives with 3 kids. An 8-year-old, 10-year-old, and I almost said, I'm a 40-year-old virgin. And she's also training 3-4 times a week and doing an MBA. How do you do all that? When people tell me they're busy. Oh, I'm too busy to do this. I'm like, come and look at Lesley's fucking schedule and I'll show you what fucking busy is, mate. Grow up. Sorry, that was a little bit harsh, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But I would say that.
Well, I agree. I think people don't push themselves enough.
You know the thing? How do you know you're busy, mate? You haven't got a fucking schedule. How do you know you're busy? You're just making it up.
Yeah. I think number one priority is to be organised and efficient with your time. And the good thing about being a mum is that you've got no choice in sometimes to like. So
I mean, you have, because there are some mums that shit.
I suppose, yeah.
And again, I'm sure they're trying their best.
Efficient with me time in the fact that like I haven't
You
got
want a minimum.
I haven't got all after all.
Yes.
I haven't got all weekend to lie around
Yes.
and do nothing.
You kind of got self-imposed deadlines. Sorry, you haven't got self-imposed deadlines. You got
externally imposed.
Externally imposed deadlines. So it's like you have to fit a lot in a short period of time.
Yeah.
Rather than so your tasks don't expand.
Yeah, I think
most people that give themselves loads of time to do shit and procrastinate and fuck around and try and make it perfect. You don't have that option.
Well, that's the thing. One of the things that I've had that I've learned over the last couple of years, which has been a struggle for us, is that I used to be a bit of a perfectionist, and I thought, you know what, you can only be the best at one thing. You can't be the best of everything in your life because you can't. Well, I'd rather be great at loads of things than really mint at one thing.
Yeah.
Like, I used to get frustrated with my training because I wasn't, like, at athlete level. And I thought, well, you know what? I haven't got 3 hours a day to train. So I'm happy with being, like, top 2%.
Oh, fucking hell.
No, top
Jeez.
10%. That's kind of where I strive for.
Yeah.
Top 10%. That's me top 10.
I've got to do this a little bit with the podcast, because I'm like, why the fuck am I not getting as many downloads as them? I'm like, that's their full-time fucking job.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? This podcast a bit of fun for us. It's not, we've still got a big coaching business to run. We still have all our other stuff to do. Like, the podcast is kind of a bit on the side.
Yeah.
Like, we've got to do the comparison game as well.
I suppose it depends. It also depends on your values as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I really value learning. And I always make time for it. I set my alarm at 6 o'clock every morning, no matter how shit I feel.
So,
I get up and
this is a little secret for Lesley. She doesn't wait for the kids to wake her up. She gets up before the kids. And you do your study then.
I do my study for an hour and a half every morning.
Yeah.
Train on a night while the kids are.
I can neither confirm or deny that Lesley is also awake before me.
Max wounded you the other day when he said something about you sleeping.
He did.
You were a little proper trigger.
He was triggered by something like, well, Dad, you've been lying in bed, you just woke up. Well, I'm a shit sleeper, to be fair, like, so. So, we're up at 6, we're getting the study in. How do you fit the rest in?
Planning. Gotta have a plan. We'll plan Sunday night. We'll have a family meeting. We'll plan Sunday night.
Family meeting, yeah.
Sounds a little bit OCD when we talk about
do you
it.
know, it kind of does. But I was saying, I even wrote this today, like, if you don't have a plan, how the fuck do you expect to be disciplined? If you don't have a plan, you actually have no freedom. And I think people don't like planning because they're like, oh, well, I just like to be flexible and free. I'm like, well, actually, you haven't got any flexibility or freedom. You got fake flexibility because you're not making any fucking progress in your life.
Yeah. You're
just going around in fucking circles, you're that flexible. So without a plan, you kind of you'd just be leaving it, you'd be hoping that you'd be hoping that you pass your exam. Yeah. You'd be hoping that you would get to the gym. You'd be hoping that you would build a big business.
I think also, I mean...
You can't build anything, you can't do any of that shit without a plan, full stop.
No, you're right.
It's like going to the gym and not knowing what you're going to do when you get there.
But also, I enjoy it. I value it. It doesn't feel like a chore. Like some people, if they set their alarm for 6 o'clock to get up and do something that they hate...
Yes.
Then yeah, they're not going to do it, are they?
Yeah, do you know, Leslie's touched on a great point here, because I get asked all the time, like, how do I just hit snooze all the time. I mean, the mistake that you're making is you're creating things in the morning. The first thing that you do in the morning is something that you hate. Of course you're not going to want to get out of bed. Of course you want to kind of spoon your missus, mate. You know what I mean? Of course you want to kind of back onto it. I don't know where that came from, by the way. I don't know where that came from. Yeah. It's that pre-workout's kicking in. I knew I'd get this in at some point. What up the Sneak supplements? Listen, hit up the Sneak supplements. Sneak, if you're watching, I'm in. So, Leslie's made a great point there. Like, she never has a problem getting up when that alarm goes off at 6, because the first thing she does, besides make a coffee, and sometimes one for me, is something that she wants to do, not that she has to do. Because you don't have to do that. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I'm like, I don't need to do that. I haven't got any business qualifications, and I've built several 7-figure businesses.
Do you know one thing that I've realised about us recently when I've done some, like, learning is something that I value.
Why do you like learning so much?
I don't know why. I think it's because I think it comes from, I left school and I didn't go and do A levels and stuff the traditional way. I left school and I went. I thought I wanted to be in the police, so I did a NVQ at the police head because you can't be in the police until you're 19. So I went and did a.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's changed, but
Should
when
we get
I was
copper on the show, shouldn't we?
yeah, when I left school, I went and worked for Northumbria Police as like a what are they called then, a YT or something like that.
Apprentice,
something like that it was. And I got bored with that, so then I went and worked in the solicitors and studied part time. Like from being 16, I worked full time.
You should also put in that you passed all your GCSEs as well.
Well, that's not that impressive.
It fucking is. There's someone that's only got 2. I've only got 2. I was high for the rest of them. Jeez.
So I've worked full time and studied part time. I did.
Done that forever.
I did a law degree. Obviously, I did my A levels part time, law degree part time. Did my LPC on a weekend in Leeds. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Used to go Leeds every weekend, work all week, and then go to Leeds every weekend and do my LPC to qualify as solicitor.
I hope you listen to this. By the way, you guys say you haven't got fucking time.
And then I can remember when I had qualified and then we had max. I used to have nightmares in the middle of the night that I was doing exams and I hadn't revised for them. And I think it's just as a result of me habits and me, because I've always done that. When I was not doing it,
you felt like you weren't growing.
I felt like I wasn't growing. I used to have like little panic attacks, thinking, "Oh well, I'm just a mum now." What's like? So I don't know where my value of learning comes from, but I feel like it's part of me and identity. I think, and if I'm not doing it, maybe it's a fear of.
And would you say that would be learning anything, or because I'm keep trying to show you jiu-jitsu moves and you're not fucking interested? I'm like, yeah, Lesley, watch this. Look how he takes the back there.
I'm quite a logical thinker.
You're kind of an academic learner, I think. I'm not an academic learner.
You're creative.
I'm a practical and creative.
We're probably too complete.
You should see Lesley trying to play games. Oh.
I know, I can't play with Nina.
Mommy, can we play shops?
I can play Lego, I can play colouring in and drawing, but I can't play the ones where you have to do the voices. Yeah.
Make believe
I've got no imagination.
I am pretty good at them, like. Isn't that mad though? And it works, it clearly works Allery in business. Hey, I want to ask you a question. Mm-hmm. What made you want to come in on this business? I don't know if I've even asked you this because it was kind of a back in 2019 we had a couple of guys working for us. Let's just say that no longer works for us, and then in 2019 it was just me with a fair few clients, and then you kind of came in and I don't want to say took over but you came in, and I remember at the time I was like, you need to make sure that this is something that you want to do, because I don't want you to feel like me assistant for a start, because you're too smart for that.
Still get them letters.
Personal assistant. So I didn't want you to feel like my assistant, but then I also didn't want to make it, because that's a hard balance. That, like, how are you in business with your wife? Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You've seen so many things not. We know many people that have done this, and it's like, well, what about work, and how do you switch off when you get home, and how do you keep work set? I actually don't know how we do this anyway, but I don't know if we do, because you got to consider. I think this is the thing. If we didn't talk about it when we got home, it would be an indication that we don't value it. We talk about it quite a lot. Because we value it and we love it, and you value different aspects of the business to me.
Completely.
So what made you come in?
Well,
Felt sorry for us?
Well, when I came in, you needed somebody. It was a varied role.
I needed some help.
I've always done a little bits and bobs, haven't I? I've helped out with the events always. I've always done the accounts, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then in 2019 we had to get rid of a member of staff. Two members of staff. Mm-hmm. So it potentially was in the short term. I taught myself how to do everything that they were doing, with an idea of.
Why did you though?
Why? Well, honestly, just because you needed the help, first of all. Yeah. But then once I got into it and realised what I was good at and what I value, I don't value it all. I don't. There's lots of parts of which is why we've got staff now.
This part you don't really like, to be fair. Talking, getting on video.
No, it's not my thing. Like, I hate attention.
Leslie likes all the shit that I don't like.
Squirrel away and do the plans and make them happen. I mean, I get loads of satisfaction from planning.
You know why I'm laughing? When we were talking about that week off before, I remember you didn't speak to us for 2 days because I wasn't executing the plan that you did.
I know.
And I felt bad.
Yeah,
I felt so bad. I took Lesley on a weekend away. I was like, hey, I'm not doing that now.
I know.
She was just like, what? And then she just walked away and didn't speak to us for 2 days. Yeah. That's been a long time since that happened. That's when I realised, actually, Lesley likes plans.
Yeah, well, I find I get a lot from creating a plan, executing it, and achieving the outcome that we've set out to do. And I suppose ultimately...
Do you know, with me, Lesley, I think I'll find a way to make the outcome happen. You like it to be a bit more structured, don't you?
100%.
I was like, I'm still going to make that... Whatever the outcome was of what we're going to be doing, I was like, I'll still make that happen anyway. It's just a bit... When I do it, it's chaotic as fuck.
Yeah.
And it's more stressful than...
I
make my life harder than...
I've got no control.
That's exactly what it is, Well, Paul, what are you going to do then? I'll figure it out. You hate that, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, but some part you must know that I'll figure it out. And I thrive on that bit. I thrive on that uncertainty, though.
But I have to then rely on you figuring it out.
And then you have to clean up the mess.
Yeah. So if I've got a plan and I know how to execute it, then I've got some control over that outcome being met.
Yeah.
If I'm relying on you pulling a rabbit out of the hat, then I can't control that, you see. So that's... So yeah, I got into this because you needed help.
Yeah.
And I knew I could help you.
Yeah.
But then, as it's progressed, I've found my own little niche that
Which is,
I mean, like proper business.
Yeah,
like you're a
yeah.
marketer. Yeah. You're an amazing marketer, and you love the limelight.
What makes you think that?
And you're an Harry coach as well.
I'm an Harry. What she means by that is 2 times UK Master Coach of the Year. I don't know if I've mentioned it before.
But the rest, in terms of like planning, staff,
managing people,
like finances, KPIs, all that kind of stuff.
I hate all that shit.
You don't like it.
Why do you like that? Because it's logical and you can see it in front of you, and it's yeah.
Because you can do one thing, and that means it's like it's a logical.
Yeah.
It's a system.
It is a system. Mac loves them shit. That shit as
love
well.
A system.
I said to Mac yesterday.
It's just my personality. I'm a high C, aren't I?
What?
Like,
she's a high C. Yeah.
What that means.
I don't either. Well, what's my favourite C word? You can't say it without saying the word country. That's what Smith reckons anyway.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So you're a high C. What does that mean?
High compliance. Compliance. So she likes rules.
Systems.
You like systems. You like step by step. Yeah.
Yeah. The way my brain works, if I close my eyes and try and think, like it needs to be in bullet points for us to remember, lists, a mind map. So, they're mind maps that you do.
Well, that's just me vomiting onto my laptop, a mind map.
Mm-hmm.
You hear that?
It just gives us anxiety. It's not, I need a list where you start at the top and work your way down at the bottom.
It's mad, that, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So Lesley actually came into the business. I think this might be useful for some of the self-employed guys listening. You came into the business as kind of a strategic assistant, right? And then I remember actually, this is a sign because we've talked about this loads in the last 2 days, this strategic coach thing. I'm doing it.
Okay.
I'm doing it. That was a little bit of, I've just made that decision. Fuck it, I'm doing it. We'll have a conversation with him. So I was in a program for a few years called Strategic Coach. It's nothing to do with coaching actually. It's kind of like real business stuff. And I remember them saying, Paul, what are you stuck with? I said, well, I've just got rid of these 2 guys. I don't know what to do next. And she'd known me, Rebecca, for a few years. She said, Rebecca, this is what I'm going to talk about. Rebecca had known me. They know how I operate. They know that I'm it's chaotic. It's messy. That's working too well. So I better find a way to fucking break it. Right? That's what I do. And I think that actually works well for me because it means I'm able to make big decisions because I think Robin said this, the quality of your life and your success boils down to how much uncertainty you can comfortably handle. and I can comfortably handle a lot of uncertainty. Like, so when people say, what would you do with this? I'd be like, well, I'd just fucking jack. What would you do if you hated your job? I'd fucking jack it in.
Yeah, I think you can train yourself to get better.
Yeah, I think you have to when I've been self-employed for so long.
Yeah, my natural personality is to not like uncertainty.
Yeah, you like certainty, control.
The way that I've trained myself to be all right with uncertainty is to be okay with the worst case scenario.
Yes.
What's the worst case scenario?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even think of that.
Oh, exactly. So I'm like, what is the worst case scenario that could happen?
I'll have to move back in with me ma.
Okay, I can deal with that. Right, let's just run with it.
See what happens. Yeah.
So that's kind of a halfway house, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like I always get asked things like, should I leave my job? Should I quit my career? What should I do here? And I'm like, well, I can tell you what I would do, but what I would do isn't what most people would do. Because I'm like a balls fucking deep kind of guy. I'm either all in, but either way, I'm not going to do like a dip me toe in the water. I remember reading once, it was a long time ago, this, like, you can't learn to swim by sitting on the fucking sides. Yeah. If you go on the deep end, guess what? You have to learn how to swim. And I think that's because when you're in business, you have to be able to handle uncertainty.
100%.
You have to be able to, because you got to think about it, for so long, you're not guaranteed money. You're not guaranteed that people are going to pay you. You're not guaranteed that they're going to pay on time. You're not guaranteed that they're going to pay you what they owe you. We found that out recently. Hope you're watching, you cunt. That's terrible, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You're not guaranteed where your next paycheck's coming from, where your next client's coming. Do you know what I mean? I've handled
with COVID recently.
I've handled that for such a long time that it's just me now. Like, I'm comfortable with uncertainty. I like that. I thrive on it, actually. You know what I'm like? If something's going too well, I remember you saying this before I started this podcast. It was 20.
That's why you started the podcast.
It was 2020. It was about March 2020, and Lesley came up with me, and things were going well. We had a system.
We knew it was a repeat.
It was a rinse and repeat. Yeah.
Program, we'll convert them into that program. We need this amount of people in that program to make that amount. Like, it was.
Your Monday is the same. Your Tuesday is the same. Your Wednesday is the same. It was a formula. Yeah.
Everything was the same though. Like, I was training at the same time every day. It was just, most people would love that. They love that certainty. They love routine. People don't believe me when I say this. I fucking hate routine. I don't enjoy it at all. I like variety. I like uncertainty. People like watching Morning Ritual. I'm like, well, here's what I do, but I don't always do it in the same order. I don't. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I do it in a different order. I just like to go with. I always do the same shit, but I hate doing it on the. Like, I never train on the same days, do I? Really. I try to, but I'm like, if it gets too repetitive.
Because it's too much commitment.
It's too boring. No, it's too boring. It's too predictable, I think. I like that unpredictability. So this time, it was March 2020 and it was going really well. And Lesley said to me, you're bored, aren't you? And when I'm bored, the problem is with us being bored, what do I go looking for? Trouble.
100%.
I'll go looking for trouble. I'll look for a way to fuck something up, or I'll look for a fight. I wanted a fight this morning. I was like, I hope someone comes at me on the internet just so I can tell them to fuck right off. Honestly, I was like, funny enough, before I trained, I was like, I'm going to tell someone to fuck off today, I can tell. So that's me craving it. So Lesley said, I remember when she said, what do you need? What do you need to do so that you're not bored? And it was build something, I think. Yeah. I think I like building shit.
That's what entrepreneurs are like and creative people are like.
Building shit, aye.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it, once it's built, the actual fulfillment bores you.
It does a little bit,
Not necessarily, not just you, entrepreneurs in general, just like to build things, don't they? And then once it's successfully
look at this. I wasn't going to start the podcast.
Move on to the next.
Well, look at this. I could have done the podcast on Zoom. I was like, no, I'm not doing it on Zoom. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop $8,000 on it. I'm going to spend $8,000 on a fucking room and 2 cameras instead. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it's mad that. It is mad that. So last year we did, right, we'll fucking start a podcast. All right, who are you going to get on it? I'll tell you what, we'll make a list of people who people don't think I can get on. And then we've got, obviously, made Tyson Fury happen, random as fuck. And then obviously the Ant Middleton one was random as fuck. Mm-hmm. And then obviously the second one was a book deal, so we had to work hard to get that done and then create it, and I think that's why it works quite well. So for anyone listening in that is in business with a partner, what would you say some of the... I mean, we just make it up. What do you say some of the keys are? Like, if you want to be asked that question, let's say we're on a radio show and we've got a first-time caller, long-time listener. Okay. Right, like the Night Owls. He's retired him, you know, Alan Robson. Remember him?
Has he?
He's
retired. He used to tell the ghost stories.
Tell the fucking ghost stories, aye. Alan Robson, he's retired. First time caller, long time listener. Love the show. Lesley, what would some of your advice be? Because you're in business with a fucking lunatic. What would your advice be to kind of build a business and not have fucking blazing rows all the time?
I think know your corner. Like, I'm more than happy for you to make the decisions when it comes to anything marketing wise. But I also think it's important to like respect the other person's opinion as well. And I think we'd both do in like, you know that I'm better at certain things, and when it comes to that, you'll
Do you know?
You'll take my advice.
Do you know what we're good at? I'm trying not to think way to brag this. You are good at keeping my feet on the ground. You're good at not letting me get carried away. You're good at keeping me a little bit more humble. Like, what I mean by that is when I talk to guys like, oh, my wife's not supporting me, I'm like, good. She's the one that's going to keep your feet in the ground. So you're like, are you sure you want to do this UK tour?
Yeah, I've always been a due diligence kind of person. I've always looked for, right, okay, is this like...
You don't always support everything that I do. Sometimes you're like, no, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
I wanted to pay someone $100,000 for coaching. You're like, no, you're not doing that.
Yeah, no.
And most men would piss and moan about that. I'm like, well, actually, I'm not saying I won't do it.
Well, that's what I mean by
just so you know, I might still do it.
I think that's what you mean. I mean about respecting your opinion and staying in your corner. So, like, I give you quite a lot of free rein to do what you want, so that you know when I put my foot down and say, nah, that it's actually I mean it. Like, I'm not kind of constantly...
Yeah.
Like
questioning every decision
you make. I'm more than like.
And do you think that comes from? Do you think that comes from though? Because I'm putting myself in a listener's shoes. Do you think that you being more than happy with that is because of my track record? Because I think that some of that, I'm like, culture doesn't fucking want you to do that. Your fucking track record is shit. You keep saying you're going to do something, you don't do it. Keep saying you're going to fix that bathroom window and you haven't even fucking done that. Never mind start a business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, do you think some of it comes from that? You're like, well, actually...
I have a lot
You never stop me from investing.
I have a lot of confidence in the fact that if we needed X amount of money, you would be able to come up with an idea how to make it.
Yes.
But...
Well, I remember even when Matt came to work for you were like, are you sure about this? He works in a factory, mate.
I know.
And you only want to hire him because
20 other people before.
And you only want to. You said
I was going to give him the job.
I was always going to give him the job. I remember you.
Just see what else is out there first.
I remember you said you only want to hire him because you like him. I'm like, well, yeah.
Yeah. So those kind of decisions.
Yeah.
I think you know that I'm better at them than you.
Judging people.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, that's the truth. It is judging people, forming opinions on people.
Yeah, you kind of.
I'm very trusting.
You're also quite. You jump in. You go balls deep, don't you? You jump straight in without considering the consequences, and I'm always the one in the background.
You keep my feet.
I feel a little bit like Negative Nelly sometimes.
Yeah, you make more logical decisions.
I don't always mean some of the things that I say. Like sometimes I'm like, what if this and what if that, and sometimes I'm just playing devil's advocate, I suppose.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do think it's amazing. It's a good idea, but I can open the. Kind of open
what
the door.
What you're doing is, like, Dr. John DeMartini would say, this is seeing both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
Where I'm so well trained in only looking at one side of the coin, only the positives.
I think probably my biggest.
You have to show me the negatives.
Is that I can see a whole. I can see everything from every point of view. I can see a bigger picture. I'm a bigger picture thinker you kind of get. You're quite impulsive. Impulsive's the word I'm looking for.
I could throw in the other: volatile, impulsive, turbulent.
What do you think I'm good at?
I think you're good at you're good at objectivity, which basically means that you can always see both. You never get too carried away. I get carried away, and your job's to grab me by my feet and say, fucking, get back here, dickhead. You never let me head get too big. I remember when we wanted to do this UK tour, you were like, are you sure you want to do that? And you're always... I would say you question my decisions, but not in a bad way. Like, in a way, so that you're kind of like, have you looked at this side yet? Have you looked at this side yet?
Have you considered this?
And do you know the thing is, Lesley, a lot of people listening in would say that they would label their partner, let's say it's a woman listening, and their partner questioning their decisions as negative. Or the negative, they're not supporting me. Do you know what I mean? That if someone was in there, they'd be like, well, Lesley.
I don't think I do it in that kind of way.
You don't do it in that kind of...
question it. I'm not questioning.
No, you don't. But also, I don't see it like that either. I'm like, well, actually, Lesley's the one that...
It's just a different perspective.
Lesley's the one that gives me the other side. She shows me what could go wrong.
Yeah.
Lesley shows me what the downsides could be. And my natural reaction is to go, fucking hell, look what could happen. And you're like, fucking hell, look what could happen also.
Yeah. But normally I go, look what could happen. Are we all right with that if that happens?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we might lose 10 grand on this. Are we all right with that? Yeah, let's take the chance. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think at the same time... But then
you don't get pissed off if you lose 10 grand. It doesn't come out. It doesn't come out as a surprise.
But I think sometimes that also I'll do the same for you. I'll be like, no, just fuck it. Fuck it. You be humming and hawing over something and I'll go, well...
Just buy it.
Either buy it or just tell them to fuck off, mate.
Mm-hmm.
Just tell them to fuck off, whereas you would say, so I'll show you the other side as well.
Yeah.
So how do we not, I was going to say how do we not take it home, but we do take it home. Do you know what I mean? How do we not let it get in the way? We don't. It doesn't get in the way of anything, really. It's what we can talk about. We like it.
I think I'm quite good at shielding you sometimes from... I don't mean shielding you, but, there's a lot of things that you don't need to know about, which I purposely think, well, it's running around in my head, and I could easily talk to you about it, but then it would be running around in your head, and it's not necessary for that to happen.
Yeah.
So sometimes...
So you stay in your lane?
Yeah. Well,
keep the
so for example,
give me an example just so I can blow it up on you.
I'm trying to be
diplomatic.
Some issues that were had with the VAT. I didn't tell you about that until it was all sorted out.
Why didn't you tell us?
Because it's irrelevant to you. It's just.
Do you know with that? I would either kick off,
and
I'll be kicking off from a position of not understanding it.
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't give a fuck.
You can't fix it. There's nothing. It's my responsibility to fix it.
Listen, here's the thing. I've built several 7-figure businesses and I still don't understand what VAT is. And I don't care.
Yeah, I know.
It's one of them things that I don't give a fuck about.
But what I'm saying is, because I'm worrying about this and because I'm running it through my head and what we're going to do to resolve this, I could verbalise that.
You owe some more money,
No, it was just, this... we don't only have this conversation
do you owe some more money? Do all the VAT man money?
There was just one of the VAT returns last year didn't get submitted on time.
Ah, okay. So who calling people out?
It's irrelevant. Okay.
This is the worst idea you've ever had. Live on the podcast today, Paul Mort misses VAT tax return. Us tax man, loads of money.
Are quite good. So we do this. Well, I do this well. You probably don't even worry about shit. But I sometimes worry about things, and I think, well, there's no point in verbalising that to Paul. There's no point in.
I mean, you can verbalise anything to me.
I know, but it's just just offloading on you, isn't it? There's no point in offloading this onto you because you don't care.
I want to talk about this actually in a second, but...
And there's nothing that can be achieved from it other than you getting pissed off and worrying about it.
Yeah.
So there are certain things that...
And I can't do anything about it.
There are rules that I have in terms of don't take it home.
Yeah.
Those are my rules. There's no point in me pissing and moaning on you about something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've got your own things that you're running through, and if we're all running... Do you know what I mean? That's...
I mean, I think about sex quite a lot. If that's what you mean. I've noticed that you've got a permanent hard-on.
What I want to talk about this kind of caring about stuff, because I got asked this question the other day, which was, what are your thoughts on this pandemic and COVID thing? I'm like, well, actually, I don't have any thoughts on it. It just, and this is not the topic, the COVID thing, but by the way, when you suck that, everyone can hear it.
I know.
It's going.
I know what you want us to do.
No, it's fine. It's great. It's great. No, it's raw. It's real raw and relevant. That's Lesley.
Reed, the producer, I'll be able to edit that.
No, he'll not edit that out. It's way too much hard work. That he didn't even edit the bit out where I prayed that guy's when he prayed for us on the podcast with Courtney. So he's not editing a little bit of sucking out. Yeah. So I got asked that question, and it's just that you brought up that I didn't care about that. And I got asked a question about COVID and the pandemic. I said, listen, it is what it is. I don't have too many thoughts on it. It's not. I'm just like, it is what it is. I've got to trust in. I just trust in it'll figure itself out. And
you've only got so many.
But that's the truth. That's what I wanted to get to. Like, I give a fuck about me training. I'm back into jiu-jitsu. I've got a fucking permanent stiffy training jiu-jitsu at the minute because I'm back. I'm back, and I'm getting butchered. I've got businesses to run. I've got people to serve. I've got podcasts to do. I've got kids to spend time with. I've got you to spend time with. I'm like, why would I get too obsessed with that?
If your day's full of things
that inspire
you, you don't get triggered by. You don't even notice the shit that doesn't.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you know what? The only time I noticed it last night. I said this to you this morning. Last night I said, guess what? Boris was hinting that he sacked Hancock. All I know about Hancock is that he necked on with a bird. And his neck's on like a fucking 12-year-old. Arm around the back, and he's feeling their arse now. Who fucking does that? You're you're feeling the wrong. He's on the wrong. You got to feel the front. You feel the front, not the back. How I mate?
I'm starting to wonder if it was a bit staged actually, or if he's just a really.
Well, I saw a shit. That he's a shit smoocher.
Really awkward.
Like, he looked like he was about to do fucking Patrick Swayze in Dirty Dancing. Hey, baby. So,
no, you didn't have the hip movement.
No, Swayze's fucking something else. Hey, did you know that you'd have been...
What did we say in the office?
70? Something?
Patrick Swayze would have been 70, he's still alive.
I didn't know he was dead.
Leslie didn't know he was dead.
That was a bombshell.
That was a bombshell.
I was gutted.
But what's mad is that, like, if people are getting too concerned with that, I'm like, what are you doing with your time? Like, my day is quite literally full of stuff that I'm excited about working on. I mean, some things I have to do that are a bit shit. Like, I'm having to do some shit tomorrow morning with fucking slides and that. I hate doing that. But most of the time, my day is full of stuff that I'm excited about, so I don't get involved with that because I'm like, when am I gonna watch that? And I was saying the only thing, I was on YouTube last night watching how you pass somebody's half guard when they've got the underhook, you know.
Right. And
that's the only way I know about the Boris and Hancock thing.
How did you see that one?
Well, because I'm on YouTube and I'm looking for a how to pass half guard when someone else has got the underhook. And the news channels are underneath the videos that I'm looking for. That's the only way I know.
You have to take them off.
So I'm like, if you're spending all your time looking at that, I'm like, what are you fucking doing? That's why you're not making progress in your life.
I think you can get caught.
You can get totally caught up in it.
You can get
when you haven't got things going on in your life that inspire.
Yeah, I mean, if the first thing you do when you get up is put the news on, you can have a really fucking angry day for the rest of the day.
Yeah, well, all the news is showing you. The news is not really showing you the news.
No, I know.
I did a training on this a while ago with it. What people say to me all the time, how do you know what's going on in the world? I'm like, well, do you know what's going on in the world, Lesley? I mean, you didn't ask us it, but do you know what's going on in the world, Lesley? Say what?
Everything.
Oh, you're supposed to ask us what so I can look cool. Everything's going on in the world. And my coach was like, he says, let's just say you're in the Amazon rainforest, right? Everything's going on in the Amazon rainforest. How do you know what's going on? And he said, it depends where you look. He's like, you can look at the floor watching a fucking snake eat a rat. Or you can look up and see a hummingbird being born. I'm like, that's powerful.
I have thought about, all this COVID thing, right? Yeah. If there was no news and if this happened 200 years ago, would we know?
Well, everyone would be fucking dropping dead, to be fair.
Would they? So, would we know that... Would we know that there was a thing called COVID? Or would just a few people have had a bad
I mean, there's a lot of people that have died, like... I don't know, but it's like... It is like that, like... I remember doing a quarterly event, and I said to you, can you take some screenshots of this? Because I didn't think about it the last minute. Go into your discovery. If you're on Instagram, go into the discovery bit of it, which is like the magnifying glass, and look in there, and that's what you're into. If there's loads of shit about COVID, boozing, or it shows you what you're following. Yeah. And Instagram will just keep showing you shit like that. So if you want negativity, if you want fear, scarcity, hate, like, because let's face it, that's all the news shows you. Fear, that there's not enough money, not enough this, not enough that. Fucking Martin Lewis, I can't stand that cunt. He's a scaremongering cunt. Sorry.
How many times can you say
cunt? He's a cunt. He never, do you know what I mean? Like, I get the people have money challenges and that, but he does me head in him. Anyway, so all you'll see is that there's not enough food, not enough money, people are dying, the world's falling apart, where in reality, there's loads of fucking great stuff going on in the world as well that we don't see.
I know.
Because no one shows us it.
Somebody should create a good news channel.
People wouldn't watch it.
No, you're right.
Well,
It
the
wouldn't.
news shows you. I mean, I feel like I should have a fucking tinfoil hat on, but the news shows you what sells, and unfortunately for most people, it's misery. It's a strange old thing. I feel like a conspiracy theorist right about now. I feel like I should be smoking pot with Joe Rogan. Have I told that story on you about the time I fucking did them brownies?
Oh, no.
No, let's not talk about that. So, what would your...
Have you not done one with Chris? Chris Brown?
Oh, I have done one with Chris. When we did do that. We actually did that in
the
Bruni. We did the Brunies. That was in we did that one in a hotel room in Birmingham. Me, Mac, and Chris.
Right.
We could hardly fit in. In fact, I don't even think we did video.
So if you want to know the brownie story,
check out the Chris Brown podcast. Yeah. So talk to me about staying in shape. Why is that important to you?
It's not about staying in shape. It's about being in the top 10%.
Of what?
Of people who are fit people.
Right, why is that important to you?
I think it's because
I mean, it makes you look sexy, to be fair.
in order to
You're
be I'm not very good at taking compliments.
Hey, I said it makes you look sexy, to be fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hey, you're welcome.
In order to be successful, I suppose my idea of a successful person is someone who's got the shit together in all areas of life. And I think my idea of, I suppose, I don't know, if you've got an idea of, if you've got like a visual idea of somebody, of like, this sounds really hippie and I don't want, I'm going to be sick as I'm saying it, but like your best self.
Oh my God.
Do you know what I mean? I know that's disgusting.
You may as well say your authentic self. You may as well throw that in
But
the
you know
mix.
what? There's somebody that you're striving to achieve.
I do.
And you've got that person, a vision of that person. That's what my person does. My person's fit, healthy, strong.
Leads by example.
That's what my vision of success also includes. It's not just like professional.
Yeah,
success.
mine would be similar to that, but you could strangle someone with his own clothes.
I don't know how you can
I could fold someone's clothes up with them still in them.
I suppose it's a sign of commitment.
You said this to me before, and I'm going to go
consistency.
controversial as fuck here, and I'm going to allow you to get picked on by the internet.
Okay, go for it.
Right, are you ready for this?
What have
So
I said before?
you said something was, I can't believe I'm going to bring this up. You kind of start getting trolls on the internet hitting you now. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready? Are you sure?
I'm bracing myself.
So, a while ago this year, one of my most popular posts, I didn't even say any words, right, was a front cover of a newspaper that said, women prefer dad bods, right? And I said, all I said was thoughts on this, and the post fucking blew up. People fighting with each other. People saying, I love my man just the way he is, cuddly. Right? And people are saying, it's all paid, you know what blokes are, it's all paid for. Then you've got guys saying, well, actually, it demonstrates this, and it demonstrates actually, and then it was just this fucking massive argument. And it had thousands of comments on it. None of the comments were from me.
I know,
I literally, it was like farting in a lift and then getting out. It was literally like that, like farting in a lift and then leaving and closing the doors and letting other people eat it. Oh, Lesley's learned the lesson now. She's had to suck on a water and move the mic away. Wow.
So what did I say?
So you said...
We're talking about... I think someone's going to get pissed off by this. Listen, if you're on a journey losing weight, I get it. I'm not in the best shape of my life at the minute either, so I'm with you on this. But we talked about dad bods and you're like, actually, no, I wouldn't find a dad bod attractive because... You said something like, I'm ad-libbing here. That's the first time I've said that ever.
I'll correct you.
I've never used those terms, ad-lib. I'm ad-libbing here. I'm going to keep saying that. I'm ad-libbing. I'm ad-libbing here, right? I'm ad-libbing. And Lesley said, actually, it would indicate... I'm ad-libbing. I'm ad-libbing here. And I'm going to ad-lib that you ad-libbed. And said, actually, it would indicate just a lack of discipline overall. And a lack of discipline to you...
I can't imagine. So I know this is like.
Bear in mind, I've been a fat cunt with tits as well, by the way.
This is a generalisation, but I think, if
And this is just your perspective
if somebody doesn't take care of their fitness, the way they look,
it's just a self-care,
and
the regime.
their self-care.
And this could go down to things like fingernails, hair.
No, look, I don't
Beards.
find men with
No, I don't mean that. I
those
mean this.
fingernails.
I'm just talking about, you don't mean just from a how heavy a guy is point of view. You're like,
No, I
beard,
mean, like,
hair, does he take care of his hair? Does he take care of his beard? Is he, you know what I mean? Does he fucking trim his fingernails? Does he, are they, not many manicures, but are they full of shit all the time? And is he dirty? You know what I mean? Does he stink?
Yeah, I just think, like, yeah, it's just taking pride in yourself, I think, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm trying not to dig myself a hole.
No, don't worry about digging yourself a hole. All the Karens, none of the Karens listen. It's a bit unfair on ladies, that, isn't it? It's always a Karen, isn't it? She sells Avon normally as well.
What would be a male version of a Karen?
I don't know. Dave
What
that
would he
sells
call?
Dave that sells Herbalife and
I
drives
don't
his
think it would be Dave.
sells Herbalife and drives his fucking Mazda. That's what he does.
Dave doesn't sound like enough of
And
trouble.
talks shit about people on the
I
internet.
don't think he's called Dave.
Is he not?
Anyway.
Kelvin. Kelvin or Tarquin. So you said something like that would demonstrate lack of discipline in other areas of life. It would indicate, what would it indicate? I just remember you saying it. I was fascinated by it and I loved it. And I just think it's important for men to listen to this as well as women. I mean, we might get people that completely disagree, but I didn't really give a fuck, to be fair.
I think if you're not striving to improve yourself and you're not looking after yourself, then it doesn't demonstrate
That you care.
that you care. Yeah, I think
I've heard
it
this
doesn't
saying.
align. It doesn't align with my
Idea of what you want from a man.
Well, with what I want to achieve. I mean, so if you're talking about, I'm not saying that he would be a bad person.
No, yeah.
I'm just saying if you want to be, if he was to be in my life, I think he would have to align with my values, and that's something that I've.
And this doesn't mean that he has to be shredded weed, hopefully.
No, not at all.
Good.
But
Fucked.
but like tits and stuff,
Not really.
it's not attractive, is it? And somebody who says that it is just trying to justify.
They're trying to make themselves feel better. I think that the saying that I've heard that might fit with this is kind of like, how you do one thing is how you do everything.
100%.
Yeah, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So somebody that can't take care of the body, that would often indicate that there's the same in other areas of their life. Is that?
Yeah.
I would say that as well, actually. Yeah, and it might sound harsh and it might piss people off, so fuck, this is where I'm at. I think that too. If you can't take care of how you move your body and what goes in your body, it would indicate that there's other areas of life that are like that as well. And I've heard say, and you can tell me, let's have a little discussion about this as well, that women's number one value is to feel secure, feel safe from a man, right?
Yeah.
And I've been reading a lot about this recently, and I don't. But
where are you at with that? I like to get a woman's perspective, and I spoke to a few women about this. Ladies in my program, obviously Nikki V she's the one that taught me about
the
it.
The first time I've ever thought about this was when Nikki V did that training, and I've always been a really independent kind of person, and I never thought that was me until I thought about it, and I thought, like, even as an independent, I think no woman wants to be the one taking care of a man. It is attractive to have a man who can take care of you, no matter how independent.
And that
you
doesn't
are.
mean money, does it?
No, that means like
Physically?
sometimes just fucking making some decisions. Like I think like
Yeah, do you know?
just fucking
do you know,
saying like.
I wanted to ask this before. I wanted to ask this before when we're talking about business and we're talking about you trusting us to do things and you challenging us sometimes on some of the decisions. Is that's one thing that I've always understood, is that I'm not gonna ask your permission to do everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask for your opinion. I'm possibly gonna ask, is it okay? But I'm never gonna say, really, should I do this or should I do that? I'm like, I'm gonna do this. Like, what do you need? What questions do you have? Maybe, is that okay?
Yeah.
I very rarely start with, is it okay if I do this? I'm going to do this, is that okay?
Yeah. Well, that's because
And I don't even do that on
if
purpose.
something was important to you, I would never stop you from doing it. I would never say, like, I think sometimes it warrants a discussion as to how things are going to happen. Like if you decide not to do a webinar at the last minute when we've worked for 3 months trying to organise it.
Yeah, we're not even able to do it.
Sometimes that warrants a discussion before.
Well, you didn't speak to us for 2 days, arsehole, so we're going to have a
before you
discussion.
make that decision. But in terms, I think what I mean by making some decisions is
Demonstrating certainty.
Demonstrating certainty, and also like not always the woman taking charge. This might be a bit controversial, but like taking charge a little bit. I suppose that's taking care, isn't it? Taking care of a woman, but I don't mean in terms of financially taking care of her, or in terms of like, I mean physically, or like it can. You don't want somebody like running around after you like. I'll take your coat and I'll take you. Yeah. Not that kind of taking care. Like masculinely taking control of.
I read the other week that a woman wants a steady ship for when she wants to know that when a storm comes, you're not gonna fucking melt like a puddle.
If women, particularly, I think when women have kids and they feel vulnerable. They need somebody who can they can rely on, I think. And not all women want to have kids, so it might be different from everyone else. But knowing that you've got somebody who's able to take care of you financially, I suppose, during those years. But it's not just about financial support. It's about like kind of particularly when you're vulnerable during those years. I think has a big impact. But overall, I think women do want to be taken care of.
Do you think women want dad bods?
But I don't think that's...
Do you think women are more attracted to dad bods?
No.
Do you not?
Not at all.
So the ones that said they were are lying?
I mean, I could say something even more controversial.
Oh, is it that they're fat as well?
Make them feel better about themselves, couldn't it?
So, wow, yeah. All right, we've just lost 1,000 listeners. Yeah.
Mark can edit that bit out.
Mark can't edit that bit out. There's no editing around here, mush. Hey, what's your biggest challenge right now?
My brain went instantly to time.
Did it?
But I think it might be balance at the minute.
Okay.
What does balance look like for you? I'm coaching you now, sorry. What's balance look like for you? How would you know you are balanced?
I feel like at the minute, and constantly as I go through life, I'm on a tightrope and I'm going like this. And I feel like I get...
For you guys not on YouTube, Lesley went to actually, they would have heard it.
Yeah.
She moved her head at the side, like she's even holding the stick.
So I'm holding the stick.
What's that called, the stick? The stick.
I'm going forwards.
Yeah.
But as I start to nail one thing, the other thing slips.
Oh, great! Yeah.
And then I overcompensate in that area, and then that thing slips, and it's hard. I think so. Like as you say, I've been training hard and I've been studying, and I know for a fact that the family and the kids' time has suffered as a result of it over the last year.
I didn't think it has. They're having a fucking great time.
Well, see, so...
I'm just buzzing that back training jiu-jitsu, if I'm honest, like.
I know, but like there's lots of things that I would like to spend more time with them in. Like Nina's quite... Needy. And I don't want to always be saying to her, I feel like I've heard myself say...
Go and find something to do. I heard you saying last night. I came in last night from jiu-jitsu and I heard you saying, Nina, just go and find something to do.
I know, but she had never stopped. Like,
I think she's not liking being isolated from school.
No, I know. Nina's home from school isolating in the minute and she gets so bored. She's just like you. She's just 100% like you. She was looking for trouble last night.
Just so you guys know, imagine an 8-year-old female version of me. Yeah.
So balance, and I think it's something that I'll constantly strive for. It's not something that
I think you're right. I think that straight line doesn't fucking exist.
Yeah.
I think I stopped striving for that. And I think the thing is, balance is never going to be about time. It can never be, particularly when you're self-employed. You're never going to spend more time at home than you do in your business. If you do, you probably don't value, and this is my opinion and I'm sticking with it, because I've worked with thousands of self-employed people. I think if you spend more time at home than you do at work, it kind of indicates that you actually don't value your work that much. Like, I love my work, you love your work. So we'd never really try and switch off. If you like, we'll switch on to other things, but it's I think balance ain't about time. I think balance is just about attention.
Yeah.
Just little touch-ups now and again.
I think
you know that if you need to lose weight, all you have to do is tweak your diet a little bit.
I think women struggle a lot in terms of guilt in the fact that they feel like their family should always come first, and they feel like they can't value business higher than the family.
That you're saying there, this is the number one thing that John DeMartini impacted me with. He allowed me to let go of a bit of the guilt that I didn't spend as much time with my kids as I thought I should. But then what I think about guilt is we only feel guilty when we can't see the positives for everyone. Yeah. Like us spending more time at work or less time with the kids indicates that it's negative for them as well. They might love it.
Yeah.
They might benefit from more independence. They might benefit from having to figure things out for themselves. They might benefit from having to find something to do. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying?
100%. Yeah.
Like, that's how I let go of any guilt that I've got. I'm like, well, I can see the positive. Like, so for example, I know people feel guilty. Like, we'll sometimes let a client go. I'm like, listen, I can't help you, mate. Yeah. There's your money back. Keep your money. I know you've done 6 weeks, but I'm not for you. I can't help you. And a lot of people, and I know we get a lot of coaches listening, a lot of people feel guilty when they can't help a client. And I'm like, well, actually, to get rid of that guilt, you've got to see the positive from both sides. For me, I'm not trying to help someone that I can admit that I can't help them. Yeah. We have no right to help anybody. But also for them, it's positive because I'm not pulling the wool over their eyes and they're going to go and find somebody that does help. I remember one guy said, listen, mate, you need specialist help. Yeah. I'm not that guy for you. After he rang us at 3 o'clock in the morning, pissed as fuck. But a lot of people would feel guilty about that. I can release the guilt because I'm like, actually, that's positive for everybody involved. Fuck the money, there's always more of that. Yeah. He can have his money back and he spend it on somebody it's positive for him. Even though at the time he was kicking off. He's like, no, Paul, you're the one that can help us. I'm like, listen, mate, I'm not. Yeah. And it will be easy to feel guilty, but I'm like, actually, that's really positive for everybody. Even if at the time it doesn't feel like it, it's a really simple shift to say, right, what are the positives for everyone involved? And it's easy to do that with your kids as well.
I think that I genuinely have some friction because I don't know what fulfills us the most. Like, for example, whenever I write magic moments down, they're all related to my kids. Yes. Everything is, I get the most satisfaction.
What's a magic moment?
Magic moment is something that you picture when you remember it. It's like what it's like. It's not. It's like a specific memory of something. You
can take a picture of it in your brain. Like if you took a picture on your phone, you can picture it in your brain. I learned this off Tony Robbins, and I fucking love doing it. It's like if I had to tell you about that moment because I've got a picture of it in my mind because I've trained my mind to take a picture of it. I quite literally will get goosebumps about it. Yeah. And that trains your brain. I want to look for more of them.
They are all about my kids and my family and experiences that we've had. However, then when, during lockdown when we're doing homeschooling, no matter how much I nailed the homeschooling, I was not fulfilled as a person unless I achieved something professionally.
And isn't this, and I know I've never been a woman, so I don't know, I talk about men lacking purpose. It's one of the biggest pandemics for men right now is that they have no purpose. They've got no mission, no targets they're aiming for. So to go around in circles, their only mission becomes to make it to the end of the week. It's like they get this job, they marry this woman, they have these kids, and then that's it. And then they don't know what to do. Yeah. So do women have that when the kids get to a certain age?
I don't know, because my kids aren't there. But yeah, but I presume...
Like you lack purpose except, well, I'm a mum and that's it.
Well, no, I can see... So our kids are 8 and 10 now, and I'm starting to enjoy the age that they're at in that.
We're talking about pubes and that at the minute.
Like, they're good crack.
They're great crack.
They're not. They're not.
Naughty.
I mean, Nina's always difficult to keep entertained. Yeah. But they're not toddler.
Nina's energized. That's what you call it.
They're not toddler difficult to keep entertained. Are they? We can take them out for a meal and they sit still now. Yeah. So I'm really quite...
And crack jokes about stiffies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm enjoying the age that at the minute.
But if you weren't working, if you weren't in here.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I don't know what you'd be doing.
I couldn't not be.
But I'm sure women get to a certain point where they've kind of given up their careers.
Mm-hmm.
They've stopped working. They've kind of become full-time yummy mummies.
Yeah, well, I mean...
They've become full-time yummy mummies.
That's kind
Women
of the
must
point.
get to a point.
I got to that point when I decided to become full all-in on this. I suppose that might have been the reason why then, because I needed something to do.
Something to give you some...
Purpose?
Yeah, sense of purpose. Because you've done the reason...
Fulfillment, some achievement, some, like, to feel
some
like
direction.
you're making a difference.
Some direction, some growth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when my kids are, I've got some excitement. I mean, God, this sounds shit, but like, I'm thinking about all the things that we'll be able to do when the kids are a bit older as well. Like,
you're presuming that they'll want to do it with them when they're older.
No,
that might be too cool.
That's what I'm thinking. Like when they're teenagers and when they're a bit older, we'll be able to go places that we wouldn't take the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Boring places that they'd hate. Like,
what do you mean?
I don't know.
Why would I want to go to a boring place? Do you mean like museums and that?
Yeah, not museums, but like some cities and watching that programme at the weekend.
Oh, Munich.
I fancied
Munich.
I was thinking kids will not want to go there, and so there's like I can see a different phase of our life.
Rome and that. I've never been to Rome.
As they get older and don't want to do them boring things with. I think there's loads of phases we'll go through in life, isn't there?
Nina, not let will go on a fucking holiday without her, by the way.
I know.
I don't think either of them will. They'll just complain the whole time.
Max won't be able to tie his shoelaces.
Or wipe his arse. All right, listen. I was going to say, you know what I'm used to saying at this point, where can the guys find out more about you? Lesley doesn't want you to know more about us. Hey, listen, so on behalf of myself, I want to say thank you to Lesley for not letting me jump off a cliff. Thank you for being my wife and my rock and all that kind of soppy bullshit. There we have it, our full-time superwoman, Lesley Mort.
Thank you.